Well, today we have a very special guest, and I know that this recording is going to be on both of our podcasts. So, with that in mind, Jesse, why don't you introduce yourself first? Tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then I'll take a turn.
That sounds great. Thanks, Mills. So my name is Jesse Kramer. I live in Rochester, New York. I run a website called The Best Interest, and I've been running it for about 3.5 years. I started it when I was working as an engineer. So I'm 31 years old. I worked as an engineer for 7 years, but through running The Best Interest, which is all about personal finance and investing, I found that I loved helping people, and I loved when readers would reach out to me and seek my input and seek my guidance. And so I recently switched careers, and now I'm working for a fiduciary RIA, a wealth management firm here in Rochester, New York. So kind of changed gears, and so now I'm devoting all of my life's energy into personal finance, investing, and helping people reach their goals.
Good for you. I love it. I love it. Well, for those of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Mills Bender. I'm the founder and owner of Mills Knows Bills. I currently reside in Miami, Florida, where I'm a financial coach. I teach entrepreneurs and other variable income earners how to master their money in 90 days. So that means no longer living paycheck to paycheck, the ability to pay off your debt up to twice as fast, and of course, being able to reach your financial goals. And honestly, I started my financial journey about 7.5 years ago because I found myself with $1.50 in my bank account. So out of desperation comes innovation. And that's why I got started with Mills Knows Bills. But Jesse, I'm curious, what got you started with the Best Interests blog?
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about how you started Mills. But yeah, it's a good question. Everybody likes a good Genesis story. The story is basically in my early 20s, I still remember kind of holding my first paycheck and just not knowing what to do with it. I knew I had options, and I had a feeling that some of the options were smart options, but I still remember thinking, okay, I could pay off some college loans. I've obviously got to save for rent and all my monthly bills. I know I should save for retirement eventually, but I don't know how much I should save. I didn't know which assets or which investments I should invest in. And
Mhm.
plus I had like this laundry list of things that I'd always wanted, like as a kid or as a teenager or as a college kid, and I never had the money to afford it. So it's like, okay, how
Right.
much do I actually spend on the fun stuff? So that's really when I realized, like, okay, I know nothing about personal finance or investing, and I probably
Mm.
should. So then over the next few years, I learned a lot. Eventually, I started just kind of almost having like fun little coffee conversations with coworkers. And I'd often write to them after the fact and be like, hey guys, we were talking about XYZ. I did some research. Here's what I found.
Hmm.
And those emails eventually turned into blog posts because they kind of poked and prodded me and encouraged me to
Oh,
start a blog. So
I
that's
love
really how
it.
the ball got growing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really cool story. And it just kind of
Yeah.
fell in your lap. It's like it was made for you.
I mean, it has been a ton of fun and I really enjoy it. I love the writing process. So I've just kind of
Good.
followed the curiosity, followed the passion, followed the fun. And thankfully, an audience has come along and joined me. So it's really the best of both worlds there.
That's
But
awesome.
yes,
Good
so,
for
okay,
you.
Mills. So you have $1.50 in your bank account one day. And
Yep.
then what happens next?
Well, as you can probably imagine, I had a whole streamline of questions just bombarding myself with, how did I get here? How can I make sure that I never get here again? And what do I do with a retirement account? Similar to you, I started thinking about all these things, but then I had this epiphany of I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that is what really overwhelmed me. And you're shaking your head, yes, like this did not enjoy that feeling at all. At the time I was 18, I was maybe 6 weeks into my freshman year of college. And I was like, you know what? I don't have the mental capacity to deal with this right now. I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever enough. So I kind of brushed it under the rug. I sat with that feeling for a little bit longer. And then the following semester, I just so happened to take an intro to finance class. At the time, I was studying business management at UCF, which was my nice way of saying undecided, and fell in love with that intro to finance class. I said, I get to merge money and math together and
Hmm.
understand it. And I got to geek out. I got my own financial calculator. It was like learning a whole new language. And yeah, it was my opportunity to really identify that there was something else out there for me. And that was my pivotal moment. I decided to use my college career as an opportunity to learn a skill set rather than something for a career, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But fast forward a few years, I find out that I love it and have made a career out of it. It just so happens I now coach people around money.
Cool. Very cool. So that class though, I'm just curious, was it kind of geared towards more personal finance ideas, or was it
Not
like
at all.
business? It was like business finance
It
related,
was
but you
like
just knew.
business
Yeah.
finance. Yeah, it was
Okay.
it was the first time I had ever seen anything. It was my first introduction to time value of money. It was my
Hmm.
first introduction to how to calculate amortization schedules and mortgages and why you shouldn't, put money on credit cards, all those different things. It was very basic, not really geared toward personal finance, but more toward how to make better business decisions. But as I was thinking about it, I thought to myself, if businesses are using this to be successful, why can't we apply the same things to our personal lives and be successful as well? So that really started, the gears turning. And that's when I started, researching finance a little bit more. I sought out a personal finance class at UCF and took that specifically. But again, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I took all the different types of electives I could, everything from real estate to portfolio management to, corporate finance, all of it, just because I wanted to learn as much as I could and found the pieces that applied on a personal level and ran with it.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And
Mm.
one thing you said there just reminded me of, I try to tell people, it's one of my little metaphors or analogies I use. Like, can you imagine a business, like a really well-run business that isn't tracking its income or its
Yeah,
payments? Like, their accounting departments are trying to track every single dollar they can, because that's really how you measure the
absolutely.
successful financial data of a business. And I kind of let people know, if you can try to do that in your own personal finances, usually through a budget, like
Hmm.
it's probably a good thing. And it's good evidence as to why you should. So
Hmm.
there are a ton of parallels between business finance and personal finance.
Absolutely. You just title it different things rather than calling
Right.
it a
Exactly.
P&L, it's a budget, it's a, whatever you want to call it. But so what's on your financial journey, what's been some of the craziest things that you've learned about money that you've taken today?
It's a great question. At some point, and I wonder if you feel this too, it's like I've been so immersed in this for so long that some of the initial things I learned that felt crazy and incredibly powerful at the time, now
Hmm.
it's like I almost take them for granted.
Right.
But I mean, one that sticks out for me is so if you look at, say, average stock market returns,
Hmm.
which for the S&P 500, it's about 10% a year. So that's
Hmm.
before adjusting for inflation, but about 10% per year over the history of the stock market. So
Hmm.
then you say, okay, I'm gonna assume that for my little analysis here, 10% a year. And I've got two investors. One of them invests from age 22 to 30 and then never invests again. And the other one invests from age 30 to 60, never invests again. Say, pick a number. They invest $1,000 a month. So one of
Hmm.
them has an 8-year timeline. The other one has a 30-year timeline. Well, the person who invests from age 22 to 30 is going to end up with more money at retirement
Yeah.
than the person who invests from age 30 to 60, even though they have what, 4 times as many
The amount of
years.
time. Hmm.
Exactly. And it's just because the person who starts early has compound interest. It's such a
Hmm.
simple little anecdote. It's
Yep.
one that any sort of experienced listener has probably heard some version of it before. But the first time you hear that, especially, if you have the benefit of time on your side, I heard it when I was probably 23 or 24. And I just realized, like, oh, every dollar I save these years is going to be so much more impactful than
Yeah.
the dollars I save when I'm 40 or 45. And so that
Mm.
really got me interested in investing.
Mm. What a mic drop moment. Normally, the anecdote that I use is a little different. I talk about, how every 10 years you wait to start investing, it costs you 3 times as much to have the same dollar amount. at the end.
I like that. Yeah,
Right.
it's a
So
good
you think of
heuristic.
it that way, if it
Mhm.
takes $200 a month from age 25 to 65 to have $1 million, if you wait until you're 35, it's going to cost you 600,
$600 a month. Wow.
1,800 if you wait till 45, and it keeps going and going to get the same dollar amount. But I like your version too, because 8 years versus four times the amount, that's pretty
Basically,
impactful.
right. Like I think it
Yeah.
is. It's like 8 versus 30. Okay, so it's not quite
Mhm.
4 times, so it's pretty close.
But it's pretty
But
close.
yeah, yeah. And it's
Two
cool
years
to see
shy.
it's cool to see graphically too, because
Mhm.
you see those compound curves kind of going up, and
Mhm.
the person who starts later, they're chasing the person who starts sooner, but they never quite catch up. And you're just like, wow, it's a really cool graphical visualization too, if
Mhm.
anyone's ever interested in taking a look at that.